Welcome to Fantasy Football Court. We are four regular guys talking all things fantasy football. Unlike some other shows, we only talk about fantasy football. We make our arguments, we present our cases, and you are the judge. We are all in the same fantasy football league. The people are real, the league is real, and the trash talking is real. Court is now in session. All right, welcome again to Fantasy Football Court. We hope you enjoy today's show. Today we're going to cover the Miami Dolphins. My name is Charles.
My name is Andrew.
My name is Nick.
This is Jeremy.
We're going to look today at the Miami Dolphins, like I said, and we hope that we can give you some information that'll help you with your draft. We'll just get right into it. Well, I tell you what, let's just do a brief overview. Nick, what do you think overall of the Miami Dolphins and their relation to fantasy football?
Well, I think they improved their offensive line was really young last year, so I think they're going to improve there. Brandon Albert was offensive tackle, so they gave him away, which he was getting older, stayed hurt. So I think overall, I think their fantasy production probably improved a little bit just because their offensive line improved.
Jeremy, you got any overview?
Two words for the Dolphins that will help them more than anything else. Adam Gase, offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, now their head coach. I think this offense is going to see more strides. In fantasy football, we don't care about wins and losses. We don't care about anything else other than how that offense really, in most cases, how the offense is doing. I think the Dolphins will have a better year offensively this year than they have in the last year.
When you say we don't care about wins or losses, you're talking about that NFL team wins or
I
losses. We don't care if they're winning or losing. We just care about in fantasy football, we want production.
Let's just say I draft Jay Ajayi on my team. I don't care if Ryan Tannehill has 50 turnovers and Julius Thomas doesn't have a single catch. As long as Jay Ajayi gets me 20 points, I'm happy.
Right. And that's the thing with fantasy football. It is a little separate than it's not tied to that whole NFL team. So if your player's on a bad team but they're producing, you don't care. Andy, you got any comments on the Miami Dolphins, just overall?
Not a whole lot, just on some of the individual players. I'm kind of excited about the team this year because of the offensive changes.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's talk about the quarterback, that being Ryan Tannehill. Hard to say. He's 29 years old. He's been playing for a few years. I don't think that he's ever really stepped up to the level where they drafted him at. I think they had expectations of him being a lot further or being more of a production type quarterback than what he's been.
He's the University of Tennessee of NFL quarterbacks, and what I mean by that is this year will be his breakout year, and they've been saying that for the last 6 years.
Are you saying Tennessee had a breakout year last year?
They have never had a breakout year, but last year they said every year, this is the year Butch Davis breaks through and Tennessee has a great year. This is the year. And I have heard this the last 3 years about Ryan Tannehill. In that this was the year he's going to break out and have a great year. This is the year. This is the year. Well, we're 4 years later. He still has not had a good year.
No.
Yeah, as you can tell, we're from SEC country.
Yeah. Sorry, Vols fans, but go Gators. But anyway, he hasn't produced what they thought he would produce, and he's not horrible. I mean, they haven't cut him or benched him. Because he seems to be almost. He'll have a few games.
They've got a huge contract that says they can't because nobody else will take him.
Well, he's very erratic. He's very interception prone. He's been that way since
12 interceptions last year.
Yeah, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And he's been that way since college.
To his defense, though, he's never had a great offensive line.
He hasn't. This year, I think their offensive line is
They have made some good improvements in their offensive line
will
this
be
year.
back healthy this year. Most of their guys
who will be back?
young. Marquise Pouncey will be back
Florida
healthy.
boy.
Yeah.
And then you got all them young offensive tackles they've been drafting. They're going to be a lot better this year. I think they'll have a lot of improvement with the guy at Ole Miss, the left tackle. They drafted last year.
Tunsil.
Yeah, I think that'll improve that left tackle spot with him there.
So Miami's trying to get him the tools that he needs to succeed.
They've done a lot to do it. We'll cover it further on in this, but they have done a lot to give him tools at his disposal, but to be successful. I will say this. I think that this is his make or break year. If Tannehill does not have a good year, then next year in the draft,
Yeah, they
be
could go
looking
for a
because the
quarterback.
Dolphins may make a move for a quarterback, especially because they'll have some people that can be good trade bait next year, and they may move up to take the kid from USC, who's probably the most NFL ready quarterback
Well,
out
you
there.
got three out there. You got the boy from Wyoming, and you got Josh Rosen from UCLA.
Andy, you have any comments on Tannehill?
No, I think that some of the players that are around him, J.I. last year impressed a lot of people, but if he has a good year, that could take some pressure off of him.
Yes.
His sacks was a lot lower than the previous year. I mean, he went from 45 to 29 on sacks. And so if you keep
That's
him up,
still high, though.
it's
That's
still high.
That's
But-
1.5 to
but,
almost
but it's
2 a
almost
game.
half of what it was the year
Yeah,
before.
but it is an improvement.
And so if that offensive line is better and there's less pressure on him to have to perform, if you get something out of your running backs, who knows?
Well, Tannehill finished last year as the 25th best quarterback in the entire league. That's not good if you had him on your
that's rough.
fantasy.
Yeah.
And right now he's currently being drafted the 23rd quarterback in the NFL in fantasy leagues. And so that means he probably won't get drafted in a lot of leagues. I mean, he's one of these guys that you can probably pick up on the waivers. He may, but if he's picked up, it's going to be very late in your draft.
I think he's a solid QB2 on your team. I really think that he's going to have some good stats this year, but I'm not.
But if he's your
I'm
number
not
one,
taking a chance. If
if
he's
he's
your
your number one in
star,
fantasy, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. And just so you know, we're in a 12-team PPR league, and we have 17 rounds of draft. So just to give you an idea of what we talk about when we say he may not be drafted or taken late.
I have him as my 21st running back, and right now in ADP,
Running
Your
back.
21st running back.
quarterback. Well, and right now he's
You
slated.
drafted him in round 3, then, and you're running back.
And
Well, he's probably going to be running for his life.
One
he's
rushing
slated to
touchdown
go
last year.
17th round.
Yeah, 17th round.
So that's, depending on how many rounds your draft goes.
So
we did
obviously,
go 17.
we're not very high on Ryan Tannehill for your fantasy football
I
team.
think he has good upside though.
He does.
He may be a guy that week 1 or 2, if you've got room on your roster, he's worth stashing. Just because week 5 or 6, we may look up, he'd be a top 12, top 13 numbers
he could.
Yeah.
quarterback there. So I would highly suggest to look at stashing him on your.
He's
on
worth
your
taking a
roster
late round
somewhere.
flyer on. Yeah.
Either a late round flyer or the first opportunity that you have, somebody gets injured or whatever, that
He's not- yeah.
you're getting them off your roster, pick him up in their stand.
He's the quarterback that does it in the past. I think I've had him on a few teams, not last year, but he'll have you screaming at the television also.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But
But he's got
you
more
could
talent
do,
this year
You
than
could
him.
do,
He does.
You could do worse than Ryan Tannehill.
You could.
I mean, if you're on the waiver wire and you need
Have
a
Jets
quarterback,
or Cleveland Browns quarterback.
exactly. if week 1 or week 2 you need a quarterback and he's on the waiver wire, I think you're pretty excited to see a Ryan Tannehill
because
of the potential. what he can
Tannehill
give
could
you.
be a good bye week replacement for
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
Especially if the matchup dictates it.
All right. I think we're done with Ryan Tannehill. Let's look at the running backs. And last year, Jay Ajayi wound up taking over. I believe they left him home at the first game, didn't they? They flew to Seattle and left Jay Ajayi in Miami because he had attitude problems. But he seems to have got that worked out, and he come on. Jeremy, you want to talk about Ajayi first?
He is a consensus top 10 running back across the board.
Yeah, they got
I'm
him
not
first
real
round.
high on him, and here's why. Last year, he gained a third of the yards he did for the entire season in 2 games versus the Buffalo Bills.
Wow.
When you gain a third of your yards against one team, that just leads me to question
Right.
how good you're going to be week to week to week to week on things. And so I think you may lose a few receptions to Kenyon Drake because they still have Kenyon in the background. I think he's going to lose a few goal line touches to Damian Williams. He's still a comfortable pick in the late second, third round, or even mid-second.
Well, right now
But-
they have him going as the 8th best running
but
back.
I don't see it because that fact of if that stat of a third of his yards is in 2 games against one team,
Sure.
that should scare you to death because it means that he's got niches where he does great, but had to be disappeared a lot of other times.
Well, Jeremy, Nick, what do you think about the fact that he's the only main bell cow there. I mean, he's the one they're going to handle. Is that a wrong thing to think?
The thing that scares me with him, the thing that they touched on last year drafting, he has bad knees. It happened at Boise State. It was happening early in his career in NFL, and that's what scares me. I still have him as my 8th best running back, so that kind of scares me.
But do you see anybody? Do you see him sharing the backfield?
I kind of do. I kind of see Kenyon Drake coming on as maybe a third down running back or receiving running back. You know, maybe even like another thing like Kenyon Drake. They even talk about lining him up as slot receiver sometimes. That's one I would look at to be a late round flyer on, because it seems like they're really going to try to get him the ball out of the.
If Ajayi gets hurt, Kenyon Drake suddenly becomes valuable.
And right now, Kenyon Drake's not even being drafted.
Now, Damian Williams will probably become that first and second down running back, but I think that they'll focus more on Drake if Ajayi gets hurt. And with the knee problem history that Nick brought up, it could very well happen.
Yeah, he is the bell cow, but I don't know. Last year, he only really was the bell cow for the last half of the season. He's never been that guy for the whole entire season.
That's
and
true.
He lasts.
That's true.
Well, and the new offensive lineman they brought in and the new depth and all of that, I think that's going to help whoever plays running back.
Because last year they were at the bottom of the league, I think bottom 5 of the league in rush blocking, and I mean. It's amazing how J.I. did what he did with that offensive line, but I think that offensive line is going to improve a lot. It's going to help him. The biggest thing, can he stay healthy the full season?
Got anything on J.I.?
Yeah, I'm higher up on him than I guess than you guys. I've got him up there like in the top 5 or 6 because of the line, because he's the main running back starting off. And
Are you
not
just saying
a lot
that to
of
be
teams.
different than us, or
No,
He told me this before.
And so, I really think that because of that offensive line changing, that offensive changing, and he is the main guy, and he's even said already this year that he's working on his pass catching ability because he wants to still be in there at third down. Usually they'll pull him out on third down if they need to get a passing yard to get a first down. They pull him out in the past, and he's trying to work on it, being that guy that he could stay in on third down so he can get some more catches. And I think he's going to be up there a little bit higher this year.
So
he's one of the few teams that he is the guy. And unless something happens, that he has that opportunity.
If you're drafting at pick 10, 11, 12,
I was gonna ask.
you look at him
If he's there,
and pick 10, 11, 12?
I do. I mean, I do.
So let's say if you're 8, 9, 10, whatever, and the better running backs are gone, and a J.I.'s there, and it's your pick. Are y'all comfortable enough taking him in the first round? Or y'all not? I am.
I'd say
I'm
maybe,
taking the gamble.
Maybe
I'm taking the gamble. And you know what? I can't get any worse than Gurley.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking that risk.
If somebody takes him in round 1, this is what it does to me. If somebody in my league takes him in round 1, it automatically, in my opinion, bumps Kenyon Drake up in value. I'm going to take him a little earlier so I can steal your handcuff so I can use him for trade bait later.
J.I.'s going in the first round. If we don't take him, a J.I. is going in your draft, and unless something changes in the preseason. A J.I. will go.
Worst case, second round.
A J.I. Worst case, early second.
I can see somebody,
even if we don't
possibly
take
if they have pick 11, 12, catching them on their return pick on a serpentine draft in the second round with pick 16, 15, 16, wherever, or whatever that would be, 13, 14.
If I fall on the
14,
bottom
15.
of the drafting, somewhere around 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, I'm looking at him. So.
All right. Anybody else got anything they want to say about any of the other running backs? I think we've already covered them. All right. We're going to look at the wide receivers now for the Miami Dolphins. And let me just say this about last year. J.I. finished 10th overall in running backs last year. And that's within.
It might have been those 2 games. But
it might have been those 2 games.
Hey, if you had him those 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right. We're going to move on. We got the wide receivers now. And obviously the first one, Jarvis Landry is the one that comes to mind. I'm going to go to Nick first and see what he has to say about the Miami receivers.
I've always loved Jarvis Landry. He's one of the guys I've really liked, and I think he's going to produce again this year. Devontae Parker has been really showing out in the spring, is what I've been hearing. So I'm not sure if that will lead to some less targets for him, but I still think he's your no doubt number 1 receiver for the Miami Dolphins.
Do you know where he finished last year in receivers? What rank?
14.
I can tell you.
14.
I got 24th.
Jarvis Landry?
Jarvis Landry finished 2016 wide receiver ranked 24.
Kenny Stills, Kenny Stills put aside, didn't he?
I
He had
have-
more
I'm not
touchdowns.
sure.
I have him 13.
But again, Jarvis Landry is tied to who? Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
you know you got to remember that. But,
Yeah.
Let me give you a stat that's going to shock you, though.
all right.
In the AFC East, where you have the Patriots, the Jets, the Dolphins, and Bills, there was only one team in that division that had 2 top 50 wide receivers. Guess what team it was? The Miami Dolphins.
Out of all those teams.
Out of all those teams in the AFC East,
Yeah,
they're
Miami-
the only team that had 2 top 50 receivers last year.
So what does that tell you
That
about?
tells me that there was progressions made. This year, I think there's going to be more progressions, and I still think that Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker both are solid top 50 wide receivers. They
Yeah.
both,
Oh, yeah.
they both should go pretty high in the draft, and I think there's a lot of upside there.
Well, right now the Jarvis Landry is the 18th top receiver in ADP. So he's definitely in the top 20 there.
I've got Landry at 14.
Got Landry at 14.
I got Landry at 14, and I've got Devontae Parker in that 38 to 44 range.
Right now his ADP is 41.
I have Jarvis Landry at 16.
So all right.
And where are y'all on Kenny Stills? I mean, I think he led the team in touchdowns last year,
The
didn't he?
thing about it, it's erratic because he's that deep play threat. He's going to be good for.
He had less yardage than all the other ones, but he had more touchdowns.
He's gonna get
TD
you-
dependent on his scoring.
Yeah, and they'll throw him to that deep threat. He might have that 70-yard TD catch and have 17, 20 something points one week, but next week he's going to have one catch.
Who
for 2
was the
yards.
wide receiver a few years back that played for the Buffalo Bills and then he went on to the Kansas City Chiefs that everybody was so high on him, but he was either boom or bust. He either caught 2 passes for 140 yards and a touchdown, or he didn't catch anything. And that's the way I think that Kenny Stills is going to be. He's either going to be good for a 60-yard bomb or he's going to have 0 catches.
Is he somebody you willing to take a chance on in the mid round?
Late rounds.
Late rounds?
I would get Kenny Stills late just in case he got hot or in case there was an injury.
I drafted him last year. I drafted him pretty late last year. I ended up giving up on him midway through the season. He had maybe one good game when he was with me, and I mean it just wasn't enough consistent production for me to keep him on my team.
Right.
So to me, he's a waiver wire pickup.
Any comments?
Oh, good.
All right. I think we've pretty well covered the wide receivers there. We all in agreement that Jarvis Landry is probably the number 1 receiver there. All right, let's look at tight ends. When you think of Miami Dolphins, I don't think you really think of a tight end team. But any comments on the tight ends? I'm going to start with Jeremy first on this one.
You got Julius Thomas here.
Now, did he transfer from Jacksonville?
Yes.
Yes,
Transfer, trade.
I have him as a extremely low tight end 1 or an upper tier tight end 2. In my thing, I think he's if you can get him in the late round as your second tight end, just in case something, I think that's a great safety valve pick. The other tight end they have is Anthony Fasano. I wouldn't worry much about him. But Julius Thomas, he's been up and down. Last year he kind of struggled at
But then you remember where he comes from, right? Jacksonville, when you got
right, but I do think, no doubt, history has proved Thomas has talent.
Now, when he was at Denver, was he not an elite tight end?
Oh,
when he had Peyton Manning, didn't he come from Denver? Did I got that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But he had
Jacksonville
better,
went after him thinking we're going to get that type of production in Jacksonville.
right. But he didn't have Peyton Manning in Jacksonville or
Right.
a Peyton Manning quarterback or a Denver Broncos offensive line.
So has he upgraded his team by
He
going
has.
to
Yes.
Miami?
Yeah, his quarterback's much better than Ryan Tannehill's better than Blake Bortles. His offensive line is better than Jacksonville Jaguars' offensive line, and the wide receivers here in Miami are better than the Jaguars' wide receivers last year.
Well, he finished the 29th best tight end last year, but again, we know he comes from Jacksonville. Nick, got any comments on the tight ends?
I have him a borderline 1 tight end. I think I'm really high on Julius Thomas this year. I think you'll be good to have him as your number 1 tight end. I mean, I think the improvement of the team, the improvement of that offensive line is going to allow Ryan Tannehill to get the ball to him, and I just think he's a good tight end to have. and that's about all I got.
He's currently being drafted 15th tight end in fantasy football. You got any comments on this?
I've got several tight ends I'm picking before him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But if it ended up with him,
I would be
disappointed
if he was my
if he's
number
my
one
number
tight
one
end.
tight end.
But if I was able to catch him like I did Jimmy Brown last year in rounds 13, 14,
yes,
I'm not disappointed. I'm pretty happy about catching him.
Yeah, depending where I'm drafting him. If I'm drafting him that late and I get him, I'm happy with
Right.
it. If I'm
Getting him in round 6 or 7, I'm disappointed.
no,
Very
yeah,
good.
if
I'm
I'm
not
the top,
drafting
you're
then-
picking another tight end. If you're going to pick a tight end, that's not the one you're going to choose.
Yeah, but if I'm the type that waits to the end to pick a tight end, like maybe around the 13th round, then I'm happy with it. Because if I'm one of them people that don't really value tight ends high.
well, there's a lot of tight ends that have moved around. There's new tight ends coming in, and I think there's some others I'm taking a chance on first before him. So.
Yeah, I agree. Tight end is a tough position. In our league, we actually give. Do we give more points for tight ends? No, we don't.
No.
Same as a wide receiver.
Same as a wide receiver.
Okay. In leagues past I've played in, that's what we've done. But a tight end is somebody that's difficult to gauge, week in and week out because, they can have 2 or 3 catches for 10 yards, or they could have, 6 catches and 80 yards and 3 touchdowns, because they catch them right there at the goal line.
I treat my tight end as a bonus point production player.
Yeah.
I expect my tight end to get 6 to 8 points, but anything over 8 points,
You're happy.
I'm happy.
Yeah, you're happy. Unless you got Gronkowski.
If
you
I got Gronkowski, then
and
I'm
he gets you
expecting
8
14
points.
to 18 points
exactly.
every game minimum.
Exactly. So he's definitely not our first choice. All right, what about the defense? What do you think about the Miami Dolphins defense? I'll start with Jeremy. Let's start with Jeremy on this.
Okay, their defense, the Miami Dolphins got, in my opinion, remarkably better this offseason at the defensive position. They added Lawrence Timmons, Nate Allen, T.J. McDonald. They drafted Charles Harris, Raycon McMillan, and Cordrea Tankersley in the draft. So they added 6 players.
So they chose their draft picks to bolster their defense.
They did. They were comfortable with their offense, and I would be too at this point. Their defense needed help, so I think they did good shoring that up. But here's the issue I have with their defense: their last 6 games this year. So when we get down to where you have to be better than ever in fantasy football, in your playoffs,
right.
all of this, they play the Patriots twice. They're at the Chiefs, and then they have the Broncos in 4 of their last 6 games.
So you probably don't want them going into your.
I would not have them going into the playoffs just because I don't want to be the defense facing the Patriots getting close to playoff time in the NFL, the Chiefs, and the Broncos, because all 4 of them will be vying for, in my opinion, spots in the playoffs at that time of year.
All right, Nick, got any thoughts on the defense?
Well, T.J. McDonald, they signed him. He's suspended for the year.
I didn't catch that.
He's suspended for the year because of their policy, the drug policy or whatever. So
Wow.
that
And so many players are getting busted with that.
and Charles Harris,
Stay off the weed, man.
Charles Harris, the biggest thing with him, he's a pass rusher. The biggest thing they needed last year was stopping the run. They were
But with adding Timmons and McMillan at linebacker, that should help with the
That
run.
do help, but I mean,
Harris
that's
is the
only gonna
DN
help.
from Missouri, right?
That's only going to help so much. But the biggest thing, the only reason I think their improvement on defense will help is Rashad Jones. Rashad Jones comes back. He was hurt just about all of last year. I think he's tore his ACL like 3rd or 4th week, something like that. And just from that alone, it's going to help their defense because he's probably one of the top 3 or 4 safeties in the league. And that's going to help a lot. But the rest of it, I think they're still going to be about like last year. You're going to pick them up depending on the matchup.
Any comments on defense?
Agree. It's going to be all matchups with their defense. They average over 350 yards against them and over around 24 points last year on average.
So they give up some points.
They give up some points. It's all matchups. I'm not real high on them, but it just depends on the matchup.
Well, I don't. We talked in the other shows that I'm not real high on the defenses. I'll change defenses like I change clothes. I mean, if they're playing, my defense has not got a good matchup, I'll go to the waiver wire and see if there's a defense that's got a better matchup against a weaker offense. I'll just drop my defense and pick up another defense.
If I happen to get lucky and draft a defense that's really good, I'll keep them on my bench and still swap back and forth according to
There's
Matt.
not a whole lot of
La-
defenses, though, that
last
I
year,
would keep.
Last
There's a
year,
few.
last year I started charting out a couple of weeks in advance who played the Browns or Jaguars,
Right.
and that was my goal, was to
Right.
all the time have the team.
So if you
play
can,
one of those two.
if you can pick up a defense that's playing against a weak offense, that obviously will. Now I've been burned a couple times.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Jacksonville will go off, or Cleveland will go off, and
I had
you didn't
Chicago-
count on it.
I had Chicago in that position last year, and a couple of times where I picked the team playing the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody would get hot and have a game out of them.
So it's not always consistently accurate that it works that way, but generally it does.
But
Well,
there's-
last year I picked Minnesota's defense off the waiver wire in like week 5, week 6, something like that. And they were the number one, I think number 1 or
Yeah.
2 defense scoring, fantasy scoring last year, and
Yeah.
it worked out well for me. There was a couple of times they won the game.
Interceptions, fumbles.
Yeah, they won. They basically won the game a couple of times because one week they had 33 and 36. I mean, out of the defense, that's just great. So
phenomenal, yeah.
I basically rode them the whole entire season.
But it's hard to gauge a defense. You don't know if they're going to intercept. You don't know if they're going to get fumbles. You don't know if they're going to be punt returns week in and
Yeah.
week out. But you want to pick the team that obviously has the best chances. You want to say something?
I was just going to say, another thing important on these defenses that we're breaking down is because you're playing against them from week to week. So is this defense one that you are not really afraid of, but when it comes to matchups, as far as the safeties go or rushing, which one are you more comfortable with?
So what
If
you
you got a
saying,
quarterback going against them, or a wide receiver, or a running back,
You talking about
it's
the Miami
Dolphins,
Dolphins.
the defense.
I
that
think
you
the
would stay
Dolphins-
away from.
The
Yeah.
Dolphins are probably going to give up 20-plus points a game, 275-plus passing yards, and
Right.
probably
What he's saying is, if you've,
Rushing or
got,
passing.
if you've got a player playing against the Dolphins, does the Dolphins worry you?
No.
Yeah.
Not at any position.
No.
I,
No worse than any other
The
NFL.
points,
No.
the points that the Miami Dolphins got last year on defense, I believe, were all special teams.
I know the
They
corners
had a
are
couple
getting better,
big points because of special teams, but as far as the defense goes, there's nothing that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the kicker. Anybody want to talk about the kicker again? I don't
I
get
don't
much-
even know who
I
the
don't even
kicker
know who
is.
their
All right,
kicker
that
is.
tells you what we think about the kickers. Amy's going to try to find it real quick. But what we do, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. The kicker is somebody you have to have on your roster, so it's an afterthought because
Well, with not a very, depending on their
I think it's
offensive
Caleb
production.
Sturgis, isn't it?
Yeah, depending on their offensive
I
production.
would
I'm
say
not
this,
looking
though.
at their kicker to do
Andrew
anything.
Franks is their kicker.
I think
Andrew Franks, whoever he is.
if Andrew Franks happens to look reliable, the Dolphins could be one of those offenses that maybe struggles because they've got a lot of players that are boomer bust players, long
Right.
field guys. I think they could be a team that would set up to a lot of field goals this year.
So they get in the red zone, they're not able to put it in, and then you got a kicker that can obviously,
I don't-
benefit from
He
that.
didn't kick very many past 40, and he wasn't a very accurate, past 40. So
All right. I think we pretty much covered the Miami Dolphins. Anybody else got anything they want to say about them? Any comments, questions, anything like that?
Y'all got any questions for us? Just shoot us up.
All right, hit us up on Facebook,
at FF Court,
Twitter.
Twitter at Sports.
All right. Hit us up. Give us some questions, comments, feedback, good, positive, negative, whatever you want to say. We'll look at them, and if we think they're worthy of putting on the air, we'll do that.
And also, if you've watched this show, and you think, man, I know more about football than these guys.
Bring it.
All four of us, I'll speak for all of us. We'll be more than happy to come and play in your league and take your money if you want to do it. We have no problem
No
doing
problem
that.
at all.
So we'll put out a challenge. I'll be more than happy to play in 3 or 4 leagues this year.
Yeah.
I don't know how many you guys will play, but if y'all want one of us to come play in your league, email us, hit us up on social media, challenge us, and then you can see if we're really good or not.
And we'll have to pick. We can't be in 20,000 leagues, so
Yeah.
But you insult us the most, and you probably get our interest. All right. All right. I think that'll cover it. Court is now adjourned.